keeping it. Thomas going to go left, wants to throw it in the end zone. Back in the end zone, Jeff Mail, touchdown. Thomas to his left, throws back to the middle, and a strike to Jeffrey Mail.
Darren Thomas, Jeffrey Mail, and the Ducks moved to 7-0 for the first time in 77 years. Now, as we get things started here, let's take a look at this week's AP Top 25. Oregon picks up 5 more first-place votes after demolishing UCLA at Autzen. The Ducks have 50 first-place votes in the coaches poll now. Boise holding at number 2, Auburn up to 3, Utah one of 7 unbeatens that remain, Ohio State at number 10. Hello and welcome to another edition of Inside the Pac. Tom Ward here with you for the next half hour, joined as always by Nick Krupke and this week's in-studio analyst, our special guest, Mr. Excitement, Ken Woody, former Oregon kicker. Thanks for being here, Ken.
It's great to be here with you two guys.
Well, the Ducks seem like they left no doubt on Thursday night as who is the #1 team in the land.
Very interesting. Chip Kelly's told his team all week, cut down penalties, cut down turnovers, and they did exactly that. And that's really the gift the team has going for it right now. They are able to focus and make that focus reflect in their performance.
Such a performance that even Rick Neuheisel, who Oregon fans, there's nobody they love to beat more than Rick Neuheisel. Even he called it impressive.
Well, and what I really enjoyed from Mr. Neuheisel is the brevity of his answers to the questions, because usually he's kind of a fast talker and a used sales car guy. Impressive, devastating. I mean, he looked totally blown away.
Well, certainly Richard Brejo in over his head running that offensive quarterback. Kevin Prince now out for the season with those problems on the knee. Nick, you look at Oregon State. I mean, the Beavers now with just one Pac-10 loss. I mean, granted, they've had their problems first half of the season, but just one Pac-10 loss and now set up for another patented Mike Riley second half run.
Yeah, and if they're going to make that run this next 3 weeks, a big push to do it. You got Cal at home, where you've been pretty successful with lately. Washington State, and then you got UCLA on the road too. But then the final 3 games, almost as tough as those first 3 games they had. USC, Stanford on the road, and then you got the Civil War. Although it is at home, but still, that's the final 3 games pretty tough to do. But the Beavers 3-3, 2-1 in the Pac, certainly in that run for the Rose Bowl, especially if the Ducks are aiming at bigger things.
Right, and also should point out, have to do it without James Rodgers. Yeah. The Rodgers brothers, the duo, have been the majority of Oregon State's offense over the past couple of seasons. And if they're going to do it, they're going to obviously need Quiz to be big, but then you're going to need somebody else like perhaps Marcus Wheaton to step up. But let's get things going here. And the big question this past week was which UCLA team would show up Thursday at Autzen Stadium? Would it be the squad that surprised Texas in Austin or the team that got drilled by Cal in Berkeley? Would it even matter against the top-ranked Ducks, who were well-rested coming off a bye week? The defending Pac-10 champs playing their first ever game as the #1 team in the country against Rick Neuheisel and the UCLA Bruins, and even Kareem in the house. Kevin Prince was hampered by injuries all week. He is now out for the year, so Richard Brejo gets the start. Opening drive, Brejo finds John Boyette, but that's the wrong color jersey. Oregon's nation-leading 23rd takeaway of the season. Then on 4th and 6, Chip will go for it every time. Darren Thomas to Michael James in UCLA territory. Looked like he was on his way to a TD, but tackled by Raheem Moore, but 2 plays later, no problem. James right up the middle, 8 plays, 90 yards on the first drive. Next drive, James was dinged up after he got the wind knocked out of him. Kenyon Barner not cleared to play, so Remine Alston gets the touch, his first of 3 on the night. Then no need to go for 1, just go for 2. Nate Costa runs it in on the left side as he dives to the pylon. 15-0 Oregon after 1. Still 15-3 in the second. The Bruins with no answer for the up-tempo stylings of the Ducks. Thomas to Josh Huff, second score of the season for the freshman out of Houston. 22-yarder. DT completed his first 11 passes. Then after another 4th down conversion, Thomas to tight end David Paulson, 6-yard score, make it 29-3, 32-3 at the half. First drive of the third, DT to the mailman. Jeff Mail, 3-yard score via airmail. 39-3 Ducks, career high 308 yards passing in 3 quarters for Thomas. Then after UCLA finally stopped the Ducks from scoring, Brejo turns it right back over. Blasted by Kenny Rowe. Eddie Pleasant recovers for Oregon. Very next play, what are you going to do? Yeah, feed La Heisman. James spins across the goal line, his second TD in the night. 6-yard score, 48-6 Ducks at the end of 3. And Oregon rolls up the Bruins in big-time fashion, 60-13. The Ducks' 14th straight win at Autzen, the largest margin of victory in 63 meetings between the two schools. And for the 3rd time in program history and the first time since 1933, The Ducks are 7-0.
And LeMike, 14th time in his career over 100 yards rushing. That ties Jonathan Stewart for the school record for a career. James really just getting that career started. Next up, it is the big one, the LA Coliseum with USC on Saturday.
Well, Ken, we hinted at it last week on this show, but I think it's safe to say right now that Darren Thomas, even though he's a redshirt sophomore, is playing at least as well, if not better, than Jeremiah Masoli did as an Oregon quarterback.
Absolutely. I thought Thomas always had a little more promise as a passer, but in the last 3 weeks, he's worked really hard at his footwork. You're going to see him in against the UCLA rusher. His footwork, how he stands in there, comes back to the other side of the field to get an alternate receiver. Those are things he was not doing at the beginning of the season, and I think Mark Helfrich, the quarterback coach, is going to get a lot of credit for that. Here he is reading the option and, you know, getting upfield. He's not going to run over a guy like Masoli did, but he's going to run away from some that Masoli couldn't.
Certainly very shifty, and you see him just looking comfortable there, and that ball right there to LT Tuine, thrown so hard and so on the money that it's still complete.
Well, and for Tuine, it was nice that it was thrown a little bit behind him, because as he turned to catch it, he avoided getting a blow from that safety.
Yeah, and then everybody's safety net when you're a quarterback, a good tight end, David Paulson.
And he can catch with one hand or two.
He certainly did. And now Oregon looking like they're ready for this showdown at USC. And we'll talk more about this game later, but just your initial thoughts on going to LA.
Well, it's got to be exciting. I wrote in my blog column that this is the biggest game in Oregon football history. And for people 3 years ago when Mike Bellotti said, hey, we're going to try be national champions, everyone going, yeah, sure. Well, those days are here right now. It's real, it's legitimate, and Ducks have earned their way for it.
They certainly have.